Going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412 here with another video and a very different type of video. What I want to do today is go through every position in the 2024 NFL draft and give you the player from that position group that I think is the best fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers if they were to select one. So obviously this is going to be there's going to be some variance here because there's a lot of position groups that I don't think the Steelers are going to pluck from. Like, I don't know that they're going to draft a running back after adding Cordero Patterson and him being a third back. I don't know that they're going to draft a quarterback after adding Kyle Allen. I think that's more of like a UDFA thing at this point. I know that they're going into camp with 4 quarterbacks. They always do. I just don't think they're going to spend a draft pick on one with all the holes that they have on their roster. Tight end, to me, would fall in to that same bucket. I think anything else is kind of on the table. But I'm also considering like about the pick range that I would expect them if they were going to pluck from this position group. That is going to play into it as well, where I think they could spend a pick on them. So you get the gist of what I'm trying to say here, but we're going to go through every single position and give you guys a name here that I think would best fit them. Starting off with quarterback again, with Caleb Williams, right? Like, obviously, that would be easy to say for any team. But I went with Michael Pratt here. The anticipation that he throws with, the accuracy, I think, of what they're going to ask the quarterback to do with an Arthur Smith's offense right now. If you were taking from this position group, I think it's him that I would look to take. It's going to cost you like a mid-round pick as well, which had the Steelers not added Kyle Allen, I think that might have been in the cards. Of course, we don't know what the long-term future is for Russell Wilson or Justin Fields for that matter. So, yeah, Michael Pratt there. I like the way that he gets the ball out of his hands quick. Again, throws with great anticipation, very accurate, all parts of the field. So that would be who I would go with there. At the running back position, I was torn between the 2 guys. So I picked 2 here, kind of cheated. And I actually did the same thing with tight end. Isaac Guerendo out of Louisville and Kamani Vidal, who's a really interesting player out of Troy and matches a lot of what Jalen brings to the table, Jalen Warren. So, how good he is in pass pro, the dense frame, what he does after the catch. Kamani Vidal kind of fits a lot of that. And Isaac Guerendo, great athlete, fantastic RAS. I think it was near perfect. That he came in with. I think that he can contribute on special teams right away, which if you're adding a third back, again, maybe Cordell Patterson it fits that role and they are not going to add another one. But if they were to, 9.9 RAS for Isaac Guerendo. But if they were to add another back, I think it would have to be a guy that could play special teams, contribute in that way, to be able to get on the field. So Isaac Guerendo, Kamani Vidal, I think those are 2 guys that I would look at. Wide receiver, this is a really easy one for me. A.D. Mitchell out of Texas. I think that he just makes so much sense. Perfect Steeler. Just fits everything that they look for in a receiver, and also almost makes sense, right? That there's some not off the field concerns, but like the temperament during the play. If the ball isn't in his hands, it's almost like, okay, the Steelers need this guy. I think the Steelers would be a perfect landing spot for him on the other side of things too, to be able to coach him up. Zach Azani, Arthur Smith, 2 known disciplinarian type coaches with their backgrounds. I think this would be a perfect landing spot for him, A.D. Mitchell. And by the way, I just did a 7-round mock draft. Spoiler alert, A.D. Mitchell became a Pittsburgh Steeler in that mock draft. I love him as a player. Comes in as my wide receiver 4, even ahead of Brian Thomas. So tight end, again, not necessarily a pick that I expect them to make, but I had 2 here as well. Theo Johnson out of Penn State. I love Theo Johnson. I have him as my tight end 3. And then Jaheim Bell, who, if you look at his mock draftable, his RAS, everything is just so comparable. To Jonnu Smith, who's obviously an Arthur Smith guy. I thought Jonnu Smith was going to become a Steeler this offseason, but that didn't happen. Why not get the college version of him now coming out in Jaheim Bell? Again, I don't know that I expect them to add a tight end, but if they were to, he is a guy that would definitely make sense, fits the scheme, fits what they've looked for in the past. Interior offensive line, Jackson Powers-Johnson. Like this one, I can go to the top of their board because it does make sense to spend a high pick, obviously, on the interior there as they are looking for a center right now. Jackson Powers-Johnson, perfect scheme fit for Arthur Smith, does everything that you want him to do, can pull, can get to the second level, great athlete. The tape is just so clean, so good. I know it's only 1 year at center, but everything that he showed gives me really no pause or any concern for what he's going to translate that into at the next level. At tackle, I had a little bit of a tough one with this one too. Like Talise Fuanga was definitely somebody that I considered here. But like I have some concerns about him playing tackle. I think for Arthur Smith, definitely he could stick at right tackle, but just in general, like depending on the landing spot, I think that there's a good chance that he eventually kicks into guard. I'm with Amarius Mims here, who is my tackle 3 in this class, just after Alton Fashanu. Mims makes a ton of sense, highly linked to the Steelers. Think he's a great scheme fit. I would be curious as to what that means in terms of where he and Broderick both play, because Mims is a guy that is a better pass blocker than he is a um, run blocker. So I'm curious as to what that would mean, because we've talked a lot about Broderick, obviously better in run blocking than in pass protection at this point in his career. Mims is further along, way further along in terms of his pass pro than Broderick was coming out last year. So does that mean Mims on the left side eventually and Broderick on the right side? I don't know. I don't necessarily think Broderick has to play on the left side. I know it's like been a big conversation, and I'm not sure why. Like, I don't know if it's just the trade up. People feel like that's his natural spot, but like, is it really? Is somebody that is much better run blocking than his pass pro? I'm not so sure, but I do think Mims fits the scheme. I think he fits the culture. Get another Georgia guy in here, play with a lot of his old teammates. Just makes a ton of sense to me. Edge, this is another one that I had a bit of trouble with, just because I don't know exactly when they're going to address this. I think they definitely need a fourth guy. I like Herbig. Is he a number 3? Hopefully. But it'll be interesting to see how they dial up things for him. Was very productive on the field when he got on the field last year. I went with Marshawn Kneeland here, who's a really interesting player, but I just think that he fits what they're looking for. Immediately would come in and be really good in his run defense, and maybe that's a good way to offset what Herbig could be deficient at in terms of his run defense. Really powerful hands, really good athlete. Marshawn Kneeland is a really interesting guy to me that could go as early as probably he's going to go on day 2, I think, maybe early day 3. If not, again, this is like hard. Anything could happen, right? But especially when you look at like where he is in terms of rankings here, like PFN has him as the number 74 player. So yeah, that would be on day 2 that they believe that he's going to go. But yeah, like round 4 would be the earliest I think the Steelers would address edge. So I don't know that he's going to be there, but that is a guy that I would think, looking at my top 10 list makes the most sense in terms of what they look for. IDL, this was an easy one just because Mason Smith, man, there's just so much to him that screams Stephon Tuitt to me in terms of the player that he is. I'm not saying he's going to nearly be as productive as Tuitt was in his time here, but when I watch him, man, that's who I see is Stephon Tuitt. So I think that he's a great scheme fit. Obviously, Tuitt thrives here, and I'd be interested to see if that is a marriage that comes true, what he would look like here. There's just guys every single year that just feel like they are fit for a certain team, right? Like this guy feels like a Steeler. I kind of get those vibes from Mason Smith this year. Another guy's Christian Boyd, but Mason Smith above him for me. Linebacker, I went with Cedric Gray here. I actually had a tough time with this one, picking out a linebacker here, but Cedric Gray just does a lot of things in coverage that the team would ask him to do. They kind of already have their guy in Patrick Queen, right, who they're going to, dial up blitzes with and stuff like that. We'll see about Cole Holcomb. We'll see about Landon Roberts. But I think if you're looking for what they need in that room right now, probably is a pass coverage linebacker. Not like, a 3-down guy or anything like that, but maybe like a pass coverage specialist type linebacker. Cedric Gray could certainly be that. So that's my pick there. Cornerback, I had a tough time with too, just because there's so many guys. So I actually went with a slot guy. I went with Mike Sainristil, a guy that, draws a lot of comparisons to a Mike Hilton in terms of what he's able to do against the run defense, blitzing from the slot, things like that. But I think he's better in pass coverage. So I feel like he's almost like an upgraded version of what we had in Mike Hilton. Twitched up athlete. And I don't know. I really like the player. Comes in as my number 10 corner overall, which again, when you're talking about a guy that is strictly pretty much going to be in the slot, man, I'll be curious to see if he gets any boundary reps. But yeah, like to crack the top 10 is just a slot. Pretty tough to do. And I feel like I was kind of cheating here with a safety one, just because maybe this guy also plays the slot, but he's listed as a safety. Cooper DeJean, just with everything that he can do, the fact that he can play in the slot, the versatility, I think the Steelers are going to fall in love with everything that he can do, the willingness to tackle, take on blocks and shed, just so many different things. If you were looking for another guy there, this is another guy that's probably going to play in the slot at the next level is Javon Bullard, who I am a huge fan of. Would absolutely love it if he became a Steeler on draft day. But yeah, those are my top guys by position for who fit the Steelers. I think are the best fits for the Steelers. If they were to draft somebody from that position, you have to let me know what you guys think. Of course, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell down below. Hit me in the comments with your thoughts, who you feel like are the best fits for the Steelers by each position, all that good stuff. Appreciate you guys tapping in as always. Until the next video, we will see you then. Bye-bye.